to Lesson 2, Assemble Your Prototype. I hope that you will consider going to my homepage and clicking on subscribe, and then telling your friends and family about my Create Your Own Tabletop Board Game YouTube channel. So here we have Lesson 2, Assemble Your Prototype. And you notice the word prototype. Prototype means the first preliminary model of something. So in other words, when you create your tabletop board game, the game board that you're about to create is a prototype. And also the prototype can always be changed. So as you can see, I have a list of items here that will create your game board along with your 4 wooden pawns. So 2 20 by 20 wooden boards, 2 20 by 20 white art paper, 1 roll of tape, 1 pair of scissors, 1 box of crayons or paint set, 1 number 2 pencil, 1 1.5 inch round wooden disc, and 4 wooden pawns, red, blue, green, and yellow. So if you're at the point now that you want to actually create your own tabletop board game, I'm getting you prepared to do so. So I want to explain these really quickly to get more specific about all these items that you're going to need to create your tabletop board game. And after that, I'm going to give you a visual of all of these so you can see how to assemble your prototype. So here's 20 by 20 wooden boards. You're going to need 2 because we're going to create 2 tabletop board games. 1 with playing cards and 1 without playing cards. So 20 by 20 means that your board should be cut 20 inches by 20 inches on all 4 sides. And that's the same with your white art paper. Very rarely are you going to find art paper that's already 20 by 20, so your art paper should be larger than 20 by 20. And what you want to do is you're going to take your wooden board and place it in the middle of your art paper, and you're going to trace it out and then cut the art paper and place it on top of your wooden board, and then you're going to tape the edges so that your art paper can stay on top of your wooden board. So you have 1 roll of tape, 1 pair of scissors, a box of crayons, a paint set, your number 2 pencil, 1.5 inch round wooden disc, and your 4 wooden pawns, red, blue, green, and yellow. Now your board, of course, you can get from any home improvement store. Your white art paper from an arts and crafts store or the dollar store, and your tape and pair of scissors from the dollar store, and your box of crayons or paint set. Now the 4 wooden pawns, we're going to use 4 specific colors: red, blue, green, yellow. Now you can either color your wooden pawns these 4 colors, or you can paint your wooden pawns these 4 colors, or you actually can get pawns that are already red, blue, green, and yellow. So you have your 1.5 inch round wooden disc. When you get your 1.5 inch round wooden disc from any arts and crafts store, you can get that size, or you can get a little bit bigger, but you want to make sure that whatever pawns you get, that those pawns can fit on top of your wooden disc on the inside. In other words, when you create your track, you're going to use your round wooden disc as a tracer to create your track. So on your track, you're going to have a start space, and you want to be able to put all 4 of your pawns on the start space. So you want your start space to be wide enough for your 4 pawns to fit on top of and within that space of your start space. Okay, so these are all and everything that you're going to need to begin to create your tabletop board game, specifically your game board and your 4 wooden pawns. So lesson 2, assemble your prototype. Now coming up is a visual of all of these, and then I'm going to show you everything already assembled and completed. So stay tuned, everybody. Hello, everyone. If you are ready to create your own tabletop board game so that you can play it with family and friends, and then eventually have it converted into a professional tabletop board game by your board game manufacturer, I have laid out everything that we're going to be using to create your tabletop board game. So everything you see here, you can either get it from your arts and crafts store, dollar store, and your wooden board from any home improvement store. So make sure that the wooden board that you get is 20 by 20, 20 inches by 20 inches. And make sure it's a thin board and not a thick board, because you want it light. In other words, 20 by 20 at the top, you want to measure it. It should be 20 inches down the right side, 20 inches at the bottom, and 20 inches up the left side. Now here's your art paper. If you can get art paper that's 20 by 20, that's great. But make sure your art paper is larger than your wooden board, because what you're going to do is you're going to place your wooden board in the middle of your art paper, and you're going to take your number 2 pencil and draw out your board, and then take your art paper, place it on top of your board, and use your tape to tape your art paper around the sides of your board so that your art paper is secure on top of your wooden board. Now, since it's a 4-player tabletop board game that we're going to create, you have 4 wooden pawns that going to either be colored or painted 4 colors: red, blue, green, and yellow. So if you get the 4 wooden pawns, you're going to color them, or you're going to paint them these 4 colors: red, blue, green, and yellow. And here is your round disc that you're going to use to create your track. This round disc is going to create your track around your game board. Now when you get your wooden round disc, make sure that it's big enough so that your pawns can sit right on top of your disc, because you don't want the disc to be too big or too small. So make sure that they can fit right on your disc. Okay. Now, you also, as far as the 4 pawns are concerned, you can get plastic pawns that are already red, blue, green, and yellow. So if you don't want to paint them, if you don't want to color wooden pawns, then you can get other pawns that are already red, blue, green, and yellow. So in a few seconds, I'm going to show you what the game board looks like with the art paper over it. And I'm going to show you what the pawns look like painted or colored. I think I'm going to paint the pawns these 4 colors: red, blue, green, and yellow. So hopefully everybody, you're able to get all of these items that I showed you so that we can together create your tabletop board game that you can play with your family and friends. So coming up, I'm going to show you the results of my work in a second. All right, so now that I have completed my game board prototype and my pawns, I want to show you what each one looks like up close. So here you have my pawns, and remember I mentioned the colors will be red, blue, green, and yellow, as you can see from the pawns. So these are my wooden pawns that I decided to paint instead of using crayons. So you have a decision to make. You can either color your wooden pawns if you decide to get the wooden pawns, or you can paint them. So I painted mine red, blue, green, and yellow. Remember, you can also get pawns that are already red, blue, green, and yellow, but make sure your pawns are able to fit within the wooden circle that you're going to buy, the wooden disc right here that's going to create your track that you're going to need to create on your game board, because your players need a track in order to play on for your board game. So here is my game board. So I cut out my art paper, and as I mentioned earlier, I placed my wooden board, my 20 by 20 wooden board, on top of my art paper, and I traced it out, and then I cut my art paper, and then I placed my art paper on top of my wooden board, and I taped it all the way around so that my board will be sturdy. I can take my board anywhere I want and don't have to worry about my art paper falling off of my wooden board. So here you have my board, and I'm ready to create my track around my game board so that I can create a tabletop board game to play with my friends and family. And also remember that the board game that you're going to create using my lessons step by step, you'll be able to convert it into a professional tabletop board game by sending your prototype to your board game manufacturer. Also remember that once you complete your tabletop board game, you can also convert it to a gaming format like PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and so on. So I want to give you a close-up look of my board. Now you can see here's the wooden board under, and here's the art paper on top. Now I'm gonna go a little bit closer. Maybe you can see the tape. I put the tape on there close to the edge as possible so that I could have a lot of room right in the middle to create my track and everything else to complete my game board. So there you have it, everybody. Red, blue, green, and yellow wooden pawns and my game board prototype. So hopefully you were able to do this, and we can go on to the next step. Thanks everybody for watching my video.